Coming up, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security abruptly resigned this weekend. We will have the details. A group from Louisville delivers water to an eastern Kentucky county struggling with ongoing issues. And police in Michigan say a woman lived with her boyfriend for more than 1 month after he died. We will tell you why she says she did it.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 5:29 on this Monday, April the 8th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning. Well, it's a foggy start to your day, but luckily no rain is falling yet. We bring in Brandon this morning to give you a better breakdown of what to expect. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, and you pegged it right there, Will. We're going to see those chances for rain increase gradually throughout the morning. Already seeing some of those down in Lake Cumberland. Let's take a look at live pinpoint Doppler radar down toward Monticello, over toward parts of East Tennessee, and out past Columbia toward I-65, seeing some of that this morning. And it's only going to increase throughout the morning and going into the daytime hours from south to north. So you folks way up north, you may have a little chance to get out the door this morning. Temperatures very mild, anywhere from 53 in Monticello to 67 in Middlesboro this morning. Across the state, we see 62 Paducah, lots of upper 50s and low 60s there across the board. So not a bad start to this April morning. 66 your average high, 72 is your forecast high, record of 87 set back on this day in 2001. The rest of the forecast is on the way here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, in one of this weekend's top stories, President Trump announced that Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen is being replaced. As CBS's Errol Barnett reports, it happened late Sunday after the president met with Nielsen at the White House.
In her resignation letter, Secretary Nielsen wrote she had, quote, worked tirelessly to advance the goals and missions of the department, adding that now is the right time for her to step aside. Nielsen was next to President Trump in Calexico, California Friday, as the president highlighted 2 miles of newly renovated fence.
Our system's full, our country is full. Can't come in, our country is full.
On Saturday, the president repeated his claims that the immigration system is overloaded and recently threatened to shut down the asylum process altogether.
We face a crisis, a real, serious, and sustained crisis at our borders.
In her 16 months as head of the Department of Homeland Security, Nielsen has found herself between a president adamant for dramatic change and a Congress eager for oversight.
It's totally unacceptable.
In March, Secretary Nielsen was grilled in front of the House Homeland Security Committee for the perceived poor treatment of migrants.
And as a member of this committee, you're darn right I'm going to hold you accountable for knowing what's happening at the bottom.
Now, Nielsen had been in many ways the face of the Trump administration's efforts to curb illegal immigration, which has included child separations. In announcing her departure Sunday, President Trump thanked Nielsen for her service and said Kevin McAleenan, the Commissioner for Customs and Border Protection, now becomes acting Secretary of DHS. Errol Barnett, CBS News, the White House.
Now, in her resignation letter to the president, Nielsen wrote she hopes her successor will have the support of Congress and the courts in fixing the laws which have impeded our ability to fully secure America's borders. In other news this morning, Illinois is now the 11th state to raise the legal age for buying tobacco products from 18 to 21. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the Tobacco 21 bill into law on Sunday. He said the health of the next generations is more important than the economic benefit of tobacco sales to young people. The move comes after the city of Chicago raised the legal age of buying tobacco to 21. In local news this morning, the water issues in Martin County inspired people on the other side of the state to pitch in and help. Sunday afternoon, Teamsters Local Union 783 from Louisville distributed more than 24,000 bottles of water. Their 18-wheelers set up in the parking lot of the Inez IGA. Teamsters and community members helped load the cases of water into cars. Organization President John Stovall says they heard about Martin County's water woes and wanted to help.
We're proud to help and honored, and we've seen they had a need, and we wanted to be a part of it and do what little we could do to help them make it a little bit better each day.
Now, if you missed the drive, multiple churches took cases of water for a later distribution. Former South Carolina Senator Ernest Hollings died Saturday morning. The Democrat, who went by the nickname Fritz, served in the Senate for 38 years. During that time, he was credited with creating the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and helping revamp airport security following the September 11th terrorist attacks. The 97-year-old was first elected to the Senate in 1966. Prior to that, he served as South Carolina's governor. According to a statement from his 3 children, he died of natural causes. The United Nations says it is entertaining a futuristic solution to the risk of coastal flooding from climate change. Sustainable floating cities. These are artistic renderings of what that would look like. The company Oceanics is constructing a prototype expected to be open to the public within months. The UN Human Settlements Program held a roundtable last week to consider the prospect of such cities. The UN's Deputy Secretary General says sustainable floating cities provide an opportunity to, quote, reimagine how we build, live, work, and play. Well, American Airlines is extending cancellations of the Boeing 737 MAX flights through June 5th. American says that about 90 flights a day will be canceled and that it will contact affected customers directly by email or telephone. The airline says it is waiting for information from several agencies, including the Federal Aviation Administration and the Department of Transportation. Boeing 737 MAX are being scrutinized after 346 people died in 2 crashes. Police in Pennsylvania found a body in connection with the suspicious fire. It happened Saturday afternoon near Johnstown. Fire crews, local police, and the Pennsylvania State Police forensics team spent the night trying to determine what exactly happened there and how the fire started. Because the body was so badly burned, officials are unable to give an identity at this time. Well, a fire truck and a pickup truck collided in Phoenix Sunday morning, killing 3 people, including a 6-month-old baby, and sending 3 firefighters to the hospital. Police say the fire truck was on its way to a fire nearby at the time of the crash and had its lights and sirens on. The fire truck ended up on its side and the pickup had front-end damage. The 3 injured firefighters were taken to a hospital with serious injuries, but are now in stable condition. In the pickup, 1 man died at the scene while 1 woman and the baby died at the hospital. A 12-year-old New York boy was killed after being struck in the head by a stray bullet. Police in Buffalo say there was a shooting in a parking lot near the boy's apartment Saturday. 1 man is recovering from gunshot wounds, but officers say a bullet also hit the boy. According to police, a car was shot at several times in the parking lot. Police found a number of shell casings at the scene. No arrests have been made at this time. A police officer and a suspect were both hit by gunfire in a shootout in California Sunday morning. It started with police responding to a report of a man with a gun chasing a woman in the lobby of a hotel. Officers confronted him and there were 2 exchanges of fire. An officer was hit in the leg. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to make a full recovery. The suspect was also shot and taken into custody. No word on his condition. Well, a Michigan woman is facing charges this morning after police say she lived with her dead boyfriend for several weeks and used his bank card. Angela Schock was charged on Friday. Police discovered the situation after concerned family members reached out to them after not hearing from the man in weeks. During her arraignment in Monroe, Schock told the judge that her boyfriend was her only means of support. A solemn walk and candlelight vigil was held on Calgary on Sunday to commemorate the lives of 800,000 people murdered during the Rwandan genocide, the 3-month killing spree that started 25 years ago. President Paul Kagame led thousands of people in a march from Parliament to the National Soccer Stadium, where lights were extinguished so only candles and flames flickered as survivors spoke. The 100 Days of Slaughter began on April 6, 1994. The American who was kidnapped last week in Uganda is no longer in danger. Kimberly Endicott and her guide were rescued Sunday, days after a gang took them captive at gunpoint. John Lawrence reports.
Kimberly Sue Endicott is safe once again.
This woman is remarkably lucky. I did not think it would end this way. This is not usually how this terminates.
On Tuesday, the U.S. tourist and her tour guide were abducted in Queen Elizabeth National Park.
Uganda has had a challenge with stability over the years. We've had various ethnic challenges and issues between various communities in this part of the world.
The Ugandan police force says the two are in good health after being rescued by security forces Sunday. The kidnappers repeatedly demanded $500,000, which officials refused to pay.
The government will not pay ransom. It doesn't want to set that precedent, especially in the Congo, because it will encourage more kidnappings. But there's actually nothing the government can do to stop those payments, especially if it's a gang.
However, money was handed over by the Wild Frontiers Touring Company, according to a source with knowledge of the exchange.
That's the quickest way to get out of a situation like this, get somebody back, is pay the ransom. But again, it sets a bad precedent.
President Trump commented on the situation Sunday afternoon, tweeting that he was pleased to report Endicott and her guide were released. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The State Department said it was aware of the reports of the recovery but would not comment further due to privacy considerations. Dozens of neglected animals were evacuated from a ramshackle Gaza zoo on Sunday in the fourth and largest such rescue mission in the blockaded Palestinian enclave. Vets and volunteers from Four Paws International transported some 40 animals into Israel from the zoo in the southern town of Rafah. The animals, including lions, foxes, monkeys, pelicans, wolves, and ostriches, will be resettled in sanctuaries in Jordan and South Africa. Coming up, we will have a recap of last night's American Country Music Awards and tell you who some of the big winners were.
While the forecast starts off soggy this week, it will not be all bad, especially when it comes to the temperatures. I'll have the latest forecast in about 3 minutes.